Technology is often lauded as a powerful force for good, spurring economic growth, improving global communication, and catalyzing breakthroughs in health and education. Yet in parallel, it has become a potent tool for criminal activity. From large-scale hacking attacks to the stealthy infiltration of critical infrastructure, the integration of crime with digital technology poses new threats that can reverberate across society in unexpected ways. These untold consequences extend beyond immediate financial loss. They undermine trust, reshape cultural norms, and even alter the nature of global power dynamics. In this article, we will unravel the myriad dimensions of technology-enabled crime, charting how it evolved, the complex issues it raises, and its profound and often overlooked impacts. We will look beyond the sensational headlines of cyber warfare and massive hacks to understand the deeper social, economic, and psychological effects that continue to unfold in our increasingly interconnected world. A brief history of tech-fueled crime. While cybercrime might feel like a relatively modern phenomenon, the exploitation of technology for nefarious ends traces back to earlier days of the telephone system and beyond. In the late 1960s and 1970s, phone freaks discovered how to manipulate telephone signals to make free long-distance calls. This era foreshadowed the digital manipulations that would come later, as personal computers became more pervasive. By the mid-1980s and early 1990s, the rise of home computing introduced a new breed of hackers, some driven by curiosity, others by malice or profit. Meanwhile, businesses and governments began storing data electronically, creating fresh targets for criminals. As the internet blossomed, forging new markets and pathways for global collaboration, it also fostered hidden channels for illicit dealings and gave birth to criminal networks that no longer needed physical proximity. Key turning points include 1988, the Morris worm, one of the first notable internet disruptions, alerted many to the vulnerability of connected systems. Early 2000s, viruses and worms, e.g., I Love You, Skequel Slammer, inflicted billions of dollars in damage and signaled the entry of organized crime into hacking. Late 2000s, sophisticated Trojans, botnets, and the emergence of the dark web reshaped the nature of financial crimes and black markets. 2010s and beyond, state-sponsored cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, large-scale data breaches, and the rise of ransomware networks underscore the formidable power criminals wield in the digital sphere. This progression sets the stage for a more nuanced understanding of how technology has transformed from a tool of convenience to an enabler of an international shadow economy, with ripple effects felt far beyond the typical targets of hackers. Today's cybercriminals exploit an array of sophisticated techniques that go well beyond simply breaking into computers. Some rely on advanced zero-day exploits or supply chain attacks, while others specialize in social engineering, the psychological manipulation of people into divulging sensitive information. This includes phishing emails, spear phishing, targeted attacks on specific individuals, and phone scams that rely on trust, urgency, and fear to trick victims. A common misconception is that cybercrime pertains only to coding whizzes, tapping away at elaborate hacking scripts. However, the reality is more nuanced. Many attacks involve reconnaissance, studying a target's online footprint, social media presence, or business operations. Exploitation, leveraging known or zero-day software vulnerabilities or guessable admin credentials. Social engineering, fooling a human link in the security chain, often the easiest route. Escalation. Once inside a network, criminals move laterally to gain higher privileges and broader access. Monetization. Stolen data can be sold on illicit marketplaces, used for extortion, or leveraged to orchestrate further attacks. Given the borderless nature of the internet, a single orchestrated breach can yield devastating consequences for thousands or millions of individuals. This environment nurtures a black market for stolen credentials, personal identifiable information, PII, and exploit kits that enable novices to become cybercriminals almost overnight, with minimal technical expertise required. When tools become weapons, smartphones and mobile exploits. Smartphones have become indispensable. People manage finances, run businesses, and communicate with friends all through pocket-sized devices. Unsurprisingly, these mini-computers hold a trove of sensitive data, location history, banking apps, photos, and more. Criminals exploit vulnerabilities in mobile operating systems, insecure Wi-Fi connections, and unsuspecting users to gather valuable data or spread malicious software. Mobile malware can stealthily run in the background, logging keystrokes or sending premium text messages that generate revenue for criminals. In some extreme cases, advanced spyware developed by sophisticated actors has been deployed against journalists or political dissidents, enabling real-time surveillance of phone calls, messages, and device microphones. The Internet of Things, IoT, under siege. The Internet of Things, IoT, connects everyday objects, thermostats, doorbells, webcams, refrigerators, to the Internet for remote management. While convenient, IoT devices are often built with minimal security. Many come with default passwords that owners rarely change, making them easy prey for hackers. IoT-based botnets like Mirai harness these compromised devices to launch massive distributed denial of service (DDoS) attacks, knocking major websites offline. Alarmingly, IoT extends into critical sectors such as healthcare, smart pacemakers, hospital equipment, and transportation, self-driving cars, traffic lights. A compromised IoT device in these settings can pose life-threatening risks, highlighting that the real-world consequences of tech-enabled crime can be literally fatal. AI and machine learning turned malicious. AI and machine learning are revolutionizing industries, from finance to healthcare. However, criminals also harness these same algorithms for malicious purposes. For instance, deepfake creation. AI-generated videos or audio can fabricate realistic footage of public figures, fueling misinformation or blackmail. Automated phishing. Machine learning tools can analyze massive amounts of personal data to craft hyper-personalized emails or messages that are more convincing than generic scams. Target selection. An AI can quickly sift through large data sets to identify prime victims, e.g., those with high net worth, poor security practices, or likely vulnerabilities. Such developments expand cybercrime's potency, giving attackers superhuman capacities to scale their operations with unprecedented precision. Cryptocurrencies and the evolving landscape of illicit finance. Bitcoin, the myth of total anonymity. When Bitcoin emerged, criminals were quick to exploit its pseudonymous nature, mistakenly presumed to be completely untraceable. Notorious marketplaces like Silk Road flourished, offering drugs, weapons, and illicit services for Bitcoin. Over time, law enforcement agencies and blockchain analytics firms developed sophisticated tools to de-anonymize Bitcoin transactions. High-profile busts and asset seizures disproved the myth of guaranteed anonymity. Privacy coins and mixers. To maintain anonymity, criminals turned to privacy coins, e.g. Monero, Zcash, that incorporate advanced cryptographic features hiding transaction details from prying eyes. Additionally, they use mixers or tumblers, which blend multiple cryptocurrency transactions, obfuscating which outputs belong to which inputs. Though not inherently illegal, these tools are leveraged heavily by organized criminal groups to launder proceeds from ransomware, trafficking, or fraud. Ransomware, extortion, and crypto laundering. Ransomware soared in prominence alongside cryptocurrency adoption. Attackers encrypt a victim's files, demanding crypto payment for the decryption key. Hospitals, city governments, and even pipelines have fallen victim, forced to choose between paying criminals or facing catastrophic operational disruptions. Such extortion strategies highlight the synergy of technology with crime, easy cross-border payments in crypto, plus technical means to lock systems remotely. Meanwhile, an entire ecosystem of crypto laundering has sprung up. Mixers, over-the-counter brokers, and shady exchanges that help criminals convert illicit gains into fiat currency or other digital assets undetected. The dark web is often depicted as a lawless corner of the internet, where criminals buy and sell contraband with impunity. Indeed, hidden services accessible via Tor or I2P host a range of illicit marketplaces. Drugs and counterfeit goods, stolen financial data, credit cards, bank accounts, hacking services and exploit kits, weapons, and forged documents. However, law enforcement takedowns, e.g. Silk Road, Alphabay, Hansa, show that the dark web is not entirely beyond reach. Still, each marketplace closure is frequently followed by new, more sophisticated sites. Some shift to decentralized or invite-only platforms, layering anonymity tools. This cat-and-mouse dynamic fosters a global black market that evolves quickly, circumventing conventional policing and enabling criminals to connect internationally with minimal friction. The human element. Social and psychological repercussions. Erosion of trust in digital ecosystems. As tech-fueled crimes grow more sophisticated, the average user becomes more wary. Phishing attempts, identity theft, and data breaches degrade confidence in online banking, e-commerce, and social media. An underlying fear can develop. If large corporations and governments are vulnerable, what chance do regular people have? Such distrust has broader implications. E-government initiatives, telemedicine, and digital learning platforms rely on the public's willingness to share personal data online. A consistent stream of cyber attacks can hamper adoption, slowing modernization efforts, and fueling cynicism about progress. Digital addiction and criminal exploitation. The internet's addictive nature, social media dopamine hits, endless streams of content, produces vulnerabilities criminals can exploit. Scammers design clickbait targeting emotionally susceptible users, while extremist recruiters leverage social isolation or radical chat rooms to groom new members. Even mainstream online platforms can become conduits for manipulative or abusive behavior if left unchecked. Social engineering at scale. Though hacking tools get more attention, social engineering remains a leading cause of security breaches. Millions of people fall for online hoaxes, manipulative phishing schemes, or romance scams each year. Attackers exploit psychological triggers, fear, e.g. your bank account is locked, curiosity, leaked celebrity scandal, or urgency, limited offer. These manipulations corrode interpersonal trust online, pitting individuals against a relentless tide of deception. 8. Global economic impact of cyber and tech-enabled crimes. 8.1 Corporate espionage and trade secrets. Multinational corporations face a hidden battleground where state-sponsored actors or rival firms try to steal trade secrets, intellectual property, and R&D results. Advanced persistent threats infiltrate corporate networks for months or even years, quietly exfiltrating strategic plans. The economic losses are staggering, measured in billions of dollars, and can reshape entire markets if stolen breakthroughs are replicated or sold to a competitor. 8.2 The rise of state-sponsored attacks. Nation-states increasingly use cyber attacks to achieve geopolitical aims. Disruptive sabotage, targeting critical infrastructure, power grids, water systems, pipelines. Election meddling, influencing public opinion through hacking, leaks, or disinformation campaigns. Surveillance, implanting spyware in devices to monitor activists, journalists, or foreign officials. Such digital conflicts blur the lines between espionage and warfare, risking escalation. They also highlight the double-edged nature of technology, where advanced capabilities can undermine international stability. 8.3 Scams that disrupt entire economies. In some regions, phone-based fraud or advanced email scams can be so rampant that they derail consumer confidence, hamper small businesses, or choke e-commerce growth. Meanwhile, stolen or falsified data can lead to significant market disruptions if exploited to manipulate stock prices. The cumulative effect is a drain on economic dynamism, as resources shift to damage control, security upgrades, and crisis management. Effects on law enforcement and national security policing the digital frontier. Traditional policing methods struggle in the face of global cybercrime. Criminals operating from safe havens can easily target victims half a world away. Evidence collection is complicated by anonymizing tools, encrypted channels, and ephemeral data. Consequently, cyber forensics emerges as a specialized field, requiring advanced training, close public-private cooperation, and sophisticated tools for digital investigation. Surveillance versus civil liberties. Governments often ramp up surveillance powers to combat high-tech crime, monitoring communications, collecting metadata, scanning social networks for suspicious behavior. Privacy advocates warn that such expansions can erode fundamental civil liberties, leading to a surveillance state. Striking the right balance between security and privacy becomes a contentious policy debate. International collaboration and jurisdictional nightmares. Criminal networks easily cross borders. Law enforcement agencies cannot. Jurisdictional complexities hamper extradition, evidence gathering, and quick interventions. Multilateral treaties like the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime aim to streamline cooperation, but bureaucratic hurdles and differing national interests often slow real-time responses. Moreover, certain nations tolerate or even sponsor criminal hacking groups, complicating diplomatic relations and leaving victims with minimal recourse. Ethical dilemmas in technological innovation. Dual-use technologies. Technologies like AI or encryption can be harnessed for beneficial or malignant ends, sparking dual-use dilemmas. Should we restrict or ban certain encryption methods if criminals use them to hide illicit activity? Or do we risk violating privacy and undermining democracy by implementing backdoors? The tension between innovation and potential misuse lingers at the heart of many policy discussions. Responsibility of big tech. Major tech companies lead the way in designing devices, platforms, and apps billions rely upon daily. They face ethical questions about how their innovations could be misused. Should they embed robust security or limit certain functionalities that can be exploited by criminals? Many critics argue that big tech prioritizes profit and user engagement over comprehensive safety measures, fueling an ongoing debate about corporate accountability. Dangers of rapid deployment without oversight. The pace of digital transformation outstrips the capacity of most oversight bodies. New apps, cryptographic protocols, or AI-driven tools may be launched widely before thorough security vetting. In some cases, vulnerabilities discovered post-launch lead to catastrophic attacks or privacy nightmares. Critics call for more prudent rollouts, while others fear over-regulation will stifle innovation. Societal and cultural shifts, digital vigilantism, and hacker justice. Frustration with slow or ineffective policing sometimes fuels digital vigilantism. Groups such as Anonymous have taken matters into their own hands, doxing or hacking alleged wrongdoers. While some hail them as modern-day Robin Hoods, others see vigilantism as a slippery slope toward lawlessness, where personal grudges and mob mentalities override due process. Fear, misinformation, and cyber panic. A steady drumbeat of cyber attacks can breed a cyber panic, fueling sensational headlines and prompting knee-jerk policy changes. Misinformation spreads quickly online, sometimes amplifying perceived threats beyond their real scope. Meanwhile, genuine issues may go unnoticed if overshadowed by viral conspiracy theories. This cyclical phenomenon complicates risk assessment and public discourse, with governments and corporations struggling to deliver balanced, fact-based guidance. Generational divides in tech savviness and vulnerability. Older generations sometimes lack digital literacy, making them prime targets for phone or email scams. Younger digital natives, while more tech-savvy, can face their own vulnerabilities, oversharing on social media, ignoring basic precautions, or underestimating the sophistication of modern attackers. This generational gap influences consumer protection strategies, shaping how educational campaigns and public service announcements are crafted. Case studies of unintended consequences. The Stuxnet effect. Stuxnet was a sophisticated worm reportedly developed to sabotage Iranian nuclear enrichment facilities. Although it successfully delayed Iran's nuclear program, it also triggered a worldwide arms race in cyber weapons. Once unleashed, copies of Stuxnet's code were dissected by hackers, spurring the creation of new variants for sabotage. The unintended fallout. More state and non-state actors realized they could target infrastructure from power grids to water treatment plants with digital means. WannaCry, NotPetya, and collateral damage. WannaCry exploited an NSA-developed Windows vulnerability, encrypting data worldwide, crippling hospitals in the UK. Soon after, NotPetya hammered multinational corporations, causing billions in losses. While each attack had specific catalysts, the scale of collateral damage revealed how easily a piece of malicious code can spiral out of control, transcending the original target to unleash global havoc. Behavioral impacts of mass data breaches. Large-scale data breaches at organizations like Yahoo, Equifax, and countless others compromise personal details for hundreds of millions of users. Beyond financial losses and identity theft, these breaches escalate anxiety over personal privacy, sometimes leading individuals to withdraw from online activities or develop an over-reliance on paranoid measures. This shift in online behavior can hamper the growth of digital commerce and stifle trust in technology. Futuristic threats. Quantum computing, biohacking, and beyond. Quantum threats to encryption. Quantum computing promises exponential leaps in processing power, which could break much of today's public key encryption. Criminals and state actors might eventually decode secure communications with quantum algorithms. Efforts to develop quantum-resistant cryptography reflect a race against time. If criminals or adversarial nations achieve quantum supremacy first, they could render modern security measures obsolete, exposing everything from bank transactions to military communications. Synthetic biology and digital DNA. The merging of biology and computing forms new frontiers. Synthetic biologists already use software to design custom organisms or gene sequences. A future scenario might involve DNA hacking, where malicious code in biological data sabotages DNA synthesizers or manipulates genomic data. This realm is embryonic, but underscores how technology-crime intersections could expand far beyond conventional computing systems. AI-driven disinformation. We are already witnessing a wave of AI-generated content used for propaganda or social manipulation. In the future, machine learning systems could simulate entire online personas with realistic posting patterns, blog entries, social media updates, video commentary, fooling even seasoned observers. Such advanced disinformation campaigns might reshape public opinion, destabilize economies, or sway elections without clear detection methods. 14. Mitigation strategies and the road ahead. 14.1. Strengthening legal frameworks. International cooperation remains essential. To combat cross-border cybercrime, countries must harmonize laws, streamline extradition processes, and share intelligence. Additional protocols could clarify the rules of engagement in digital conflicts, setting norms for state-sponsored hacking similar to existing frameworks for conventional warfare. 14.2. Technological countermeasures. Ongoing research into advanced encryption, zero-trust architectures, behavioral analytics, and AI-driven intrusion detection aims to outpace criminals. Blockchain technologies might secure supply chains or reduce fraud in intangible asset management. However, any new measure can become a fresh target for exploitation, mandating continuous iteration. 14.3. Building a culture of cyber resilience. Ultimately, the human firewall can be as critical as technical solutions. Widespread cyber hygiene education, teaching individuals and organizations about password management, phishing detection, and data protection, can significantly reduce vulnerabilities. Governments, schools, and NGOs can join forces to ensure that digital literacy is part of basic skill sets, cutting down on the pool of susceptible victims. Mixing technology and crime has engendered sweeping changes to how society functions, leaving few domains untouched. While the headlines often spotlight sensational ransomware or data breaches, a deeper narrative reveals an intricate tapestry of social distrust, economic instability, ethical dilemmas, and cross-border tensions. From phone phreaking to quantum hacking, every epoch of technological innovation has introduced criminal exploits and, by extension, untold consequences. The challenge moving forward is to balance the transformative power of technology with a robust, adaptive approach to security and regulation. Only through collaboration, spanning governments, private enterprises, researchers, and the public, can we mitigate the most harmful side effects of our increasingly digital world. By recognizing that the impacts go far beyond stolen credit cards or corporate ransoms, we can begin to craft policies and cultivate a digital culture that fosters innovation without succumbing to the fear and chaos criminals seek to perpetuate. The future of technology can still be bright, provided we remain vigilant and intentional in addressing the dark potentials that inevitably follow its rapid evolution. APT, Advanced Persistent Threat. A stealthy cyber threat actor, typically state-sponsored, that gains unauthorized access to a network and stays undetected for a long period. Dark web, part of the internet only accessible via specific software, e.g. Tor, often used for illicit marketplaces and anonymous communication. DDoS, Distributed Denial of Service, an attack that overwhelms a server or network with traffic, rendering it inaccessible to legitimate users. IoT, Internet of Things, a network of internet-connected objects that can collect and exchange data. Phishing, a technique where attackers attempt to trick users into revealing personal information or credentials, often through deceptive emails or messages. Ransomware, malicious software that encrypts the victim's data, demanding payment for decryption. Zero-day exploit, a software vulnerability unknown to the vendor. Hackers exploit it before it's patched. Quantum computing, a form of computing using quantum bits, qubits, that can process data exponentially faster than classical computing in some scenarios. Suggested reading and resources. Cybersecurity and Cyber War, What Everyone Needs to Know, P.W. Singer and Alan Friedman. Future Crimes, Mark Goodman. The Hacker and the State, Cyber Attacks and the New Normal of Geopolitics, Ben Buchanan. Click here to kill everybody, Bruce Schneier. Black Code, Inside the Battle for Cyberspace. Ronald J. Dybert, Dark Market, How Hackers Became the New Mafia. Misha Glenny. Research from cybersecurity firms like Kaspersky, Symantec, FireEye, and CrowdStrike. Organizations such as Europol's European Cybercrime Center, EC3, and Interpol provide public reports and threat assessments. These resources offer in-depth perspectives on the intersection of technology and crime, covering both technical details and the broader societal ramifications.